They laughed at the janitor mopping their floors until she walked into the boardroom and fired the CEO. Have you ever passed someone without seeing them? Not out of cruelty, but assumption. That's how most people treated Talia Jennings. Every night, sharp at 9 p.m., Talia pushed her mop bucket through the gleaming glass doors of Orion Systemsa, multi-billion-dollar tech firm nestled in Tempe, Arizona. The lobby smelled of leather chairs and citrus polish. Floors of flawless marble glistened under halogen light, untouched by footprints thanks to her. Talia wore the standard-issue gray custodial uniform. Her hair was pulled up in a neat puff. She wore AirPods, but the music was rarely on. She just didn't feel like talking. No one paid her much mind. Some called her sweetheart or girl, despite the name badge clearly clipped to her chest. Others carried on about IPOs, crypto surges, or luxury real estate as she wiped their crumbs from tabletops just feet away. A few even looked at her with pity like her life must have taken a hard left turn somewhere. But Talia never flinched. She had a rhythm: vacuum, trash bins, desks. Always in that order. And when executives stayed late, which they often did, they joked and laughed like she was invisible. One night, a junior VP named Kyle Farnsworth spilled his vanilla protein shake across the tile, glanced at her, pointed, and said, "You missed a spot." He didn't apologize. Talia looked at him silent, steady, then cleaned it up. He laughed like he'd won something. Kyle had no idea Talia had been documenting his insider trades for 3 months, or that she knew where the corporate funds were really going during those team retreats in Vegas. She never said a word. That same week, 2 new hires in HR took a late-night selfie in the lounge. Talia appeared in the background. They posted it with the caption, "Didn't even know we had night staff." One commented, "Ghost lady looks serious AF." Talia saw it. She screenshot it, saved it to her file. What no one knew, because no one cared enough to ask, was that Talia had a master's in finance from Arizona State, top 5% of her class. She could have been in a corner office with her name on the door. But she chose this path. Her mother, Ruth Jennings, worked for Orion for 28 years. Beloved by all, until she was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. Orion offered no sick leave, no benefits, no sympathy. Just a sterile suggestion that she resign. Ruth died in a cramped apartment in Mesa, without funeral coverage, survived by a worn vest and a final check for $3,910. Talia didn't return for revenge. She came for clarity. She applied under her middle name, used an old mailing address, never mentioned her degrees, got hired in one interview. Some people chase power loudly. Talia came for it silent. But silence isn't weakness. It's observation. Talia had been watching for a long, long time. Her earliest memories weren't of cartoons or playgrounds. They were of bleach-scarred hands. Her mother humming softly over the kitchen sink after grueling shifts. Ruth never complained. Couldn't afford to. Bills didn't care. Neither did the rent. And Talia always needed a field trip form or a new pair of sneakers. Ruth caught the 5:45 a.m. bus every morning. Hair tied back, shoes clean, even though she'd return home caked in grime. She believed in dignity even if the world didn't look back. At night, Ruth reheated leftovers, checked Talia's homework, and reminded her, "Clean work is honest work. But don't let it be your only option, baby. Learn money. Learn systems. Learn who really holds the power." Talia listened. By 16, she could break down budgets better than the grown folks down the block. By 22, she was ghostwriting market trend reports while waiting tables. She could have gone corporate, but when Ruth got sick, everything changed. 6 months from diagnosis to funeral. Orion didn't call, didn't send flowers, just emailed a status update. Employee no longer active. Talia remembered reading it through tears while the hospice nurse pulled the machines. That's when she knew they would not forget her mother. She didn't burst into HR, didn't write any angry emails. She strategized. She saved every penny, took multiple jobs, ate ramen and apples for dinner. Every bonus went into Orion shares. Cents turned to dollars, dollars to thousands. She learned the system. Who owned what? Which board members never showed up to vote? She made allies quiet ones. Custodial staff. cafeteria workers, parking attendants, even a security guard named Jorge, who once said over a cup of vending machine coffee, "We could be planning a heist," and they'd walk past like we're furniture. Talia had smiled. "Not a heist," she whispered. "Something better." But something better required time. And no mistakes. There's something about office buildings at night. The hum of lights. The way sound bounces too clearly in empty halls. Stay quiet long enough, you hear everything. She heard Kyle Farnsworth bragging about outsourcing half of HR to overseas contractors, saying, "No loyalty in this game. Just margin." He laughed. The other exec laughed with him. That same night, Talia emptied the trash in his suite, found a crumpled itinerary flights, hotels, and an entertainment budget labeled confidential. She snapped a photo, didn't touch the paper. Then there was Brianna Lancaster, head of legal, always in heels, perfect teeth, walking 3 paces ahead of everyone. One night, she glanced at Talia and said, "You look like someone I used to know. What's your name again? Let me not even bother." That night, Talia overheard her say, "We need to clean house. Start with janitorial. Cut 25%. Let them figure it out. Bottom feeders." That's how they saw her mother. Talia added Brianna's name to her spreadsheet. It was titled Truth Ledger. Names, habits, transactions, policy shifts, all backed up in 3 encrypted cloud accounts. She didn't plan to use it recklessly, but leverage was leverage. What pushed her over the edge was Orion's new CEO David Mercer. Polished, charismatic, podcast voice. He strutted in from a Seattle startup like he owned the moon. On day 1, he gave a speech on efficiency and modernization. Translation, budget cuts. He axed 3 custodians in week 1. He killed lunch stipends for junior teams while tripling the executive liquor budget. Then came the joke. It was a Thursday night. Boardroom still buzzing. Talia mopped just outside the glass wall when she heard him say, "Sometimes you gotta stop feeding the bottom to float the top." They laughed. She kept mopping. But inside, the match was lit. Her phone buzzed. It was Naomi, a cafeteria worker. "He's flying to Austin next week. Some hush-hush board thing. You good?" Talia texted back. "Perfect." She'd been gathering voting proxies for nearly a year, splintered shares forgotten by shareholders too disillusioned to show up. She emailed, called, messaged. "Just a janitor," she joked in outreach. "Good. That means no one's afraid of me." Some ignored her. Some were curious. But a few, especially those who'd been discarded, listened. Dr. Byron Kessler, a former research head forced into retirement. Cassandra Lee, a founder whose AI startup was swallowed, then buried. Dylan Rhodes, a former intern who ran a scrappy investing blog. Together, their shares gave Talia quiet control of nearly 12% of the voting stock. Legally, it was enough. But she wasn't done. Late one night, she sat alone in the executive lounge and drafted a document. Motion to remove CEO David Mercer. No drama. Just for seats. Unauthorized travel. Layoffs. Colapsi no morale. Fake vendor contracts. Every claim had backup. Jorge walked past. Raised an eyebrow. "You know you ain't supposed to be in here, right?" She didn't look up. "I'm just cleaning." He saw the folder. Exhaled. "Damn. You really doing it, huh?" Talia leaned back. "No one's handing us a seat at that table. So I'm pulling one up." Friday came fast. At 5:55 p.m., she stepped off the service elevatorno mop bucket this time. Just her. Clean jeans. Worn sneakers. Her badge still worked. Jorge had made sure. Inside, Mercer was in mid-speech. "I'm telling you," he chuckled to the board. "Trimming the dead weight was the smartest move we've made." He didn't see her yet, but Charles Ming, a quiet board elder, did. Mercer turned. "Can I help you, miss? This is a private meeting." Talia didn't flinch. "I'm here as a shareholder," she said, "and I'm submitting this." She placed the folder on the table. Silence. Mercer looked at it like it was a prank. "You can't be serious," he scoffed. "Who let her in here?" Charles cleared his throat. "She's within her rights. Her documents are in order." Another board member nodded. "She has my proxy." Then another. "And mine." Mercer's face went pale. "This is absurd. She mops the floors. Talia stepped forward. I clean what gets dirty, she said. And right now, that includes this leadership team. Mercer barked. You don't have the authority. I hold 11.6% of the vote, she said coolly. Article 7, Section B of a shareholder agreement grants me the right to call for a vote. Charles flipped through the binder. She's correct. Mercer stumbled. This is a coup. No, Talia said. This is accountability. Board members shuffled. No one laughed. Chunder Bose, a newer board member, looked at Mercer. Staff morale's tanked. You've been charging personal travel to dummy accounts. You've destroyed what this company used to be. I can explain. Not to the IRS, you won't, Talia replied, sliding another document across. Charles steepled his fingers. She didn't come with suspicions. She came with facts. I'm not resigning. Mercer snapped. You won't have to, Talia said. The board's about to handle it. All in favor of immediate removal of David Mercer as CEO, Chunder called. Hands went up. A unanimous vote. The next morning, Talia arrived at Orion's lobby. Same badge. Same face. Same walk. But everything was different. She wore her old uniform not because she had to, but because she chose to. Naomi spotted her in the break room. Girl, you serious? That really happened? Talia nodded. Jorge mock saluted. CEO, Slayer. She smirked. Don't hype me. That week, an internal email went out not from her, but from the board. Subject line, change starts at the foundation. It announced a temporary leadership committee including 2 janitorial staff, a kitchen lead, and a junior coder. Not for optics, because Talia made sure their voices counted. Severance was revised. Layoffs paused. The executive liquor budget eliminated redirected to healthcare and family leave. And Orion's new outreach program, renamed the Ruth Initiative. Talia didn't ask for it, but when she saw her mother's name in gold script, she excused herself to the restroom and cried, not out of sadness, but because it finally meant something. Weeks later, Charles asked her again if she'd consider a permanent leadership role. She declined. What do you want then? He asked. Talia looked out the window. To keep showing up at 9 p.m. For now. Charles blinked. Seems like a waste of your brain. Talia smiled faintly. You don't need a desk to think. And as she left, she added one last thing. If anyone here ever calls a janitor dead weight, again, you better believe they'll be next. Because sometimes, the ones you overlook are the only ones who care enough to fix what's broken. Sometimes the person mopping the floor is actually clearing the path for something better. Talia Jennings never wanted revenge. She wanted respect. She wanted truth. And above all, she wanted her mother's legacy to matter. No, it did. Because real power, it doesn't come from corner offices or titles. It comes from a courage to do what's right when nobody sees you coming.